Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And I have a few things to bring to you today. First thing I wanted to talk about was this is from Seymour Rock's blog page. From Sam Carana via Facebook. Sudden stratospheric warming over Antarctica. This is titled, "We are being largely misinformed about sudden stratospheric warming." This is from September 4th. The first image shows sudden stratospheric warming over Antarctica with temperatures as high as 1.2 C or 34.2 Fahrenheit forecast at 10 HPA over Antarctica for September 5th, 2019. Let's see this here. The second image shows winds as fast as 526 kilometers or 327 miles per hour. That's just, I mean, unimaginably strong winds. Forecast at 10 HPA stratosphere over Antarctica for September 5th, 2019. Southern polar vortex split into two. The third image shows the situation on September 2nd, 2019. Temperatures as much as 30 C warmer than 1979 to 2000 are visible over Antarctica, while temperatures as much as minus 30 C colder than 1979 to 2000 are visible over the sea ice around Antarctica. Here, right? You see that? Anyways, that's the extent of the post. I'm going to link it below. You guys can check that out for yourself. Obviously can't be good if there's massive stratospheric heating going on over Antarctica. So the main article I wanted to get into today is from Truth Out by William Rivers Pitt from August 31st, 2019, titled "Monsanto Emails Show Employees Wanted to Beat the Shit Out of Concerned Moms." Excuse me. At some point, all of us has brought something that we almost immediately have bought something that we almost immediately came to regret. Maybe a car whose color was intriguing on the lot, but looks like a four-wheeled cold sore in your driveway. Or that last beer during the ball game that turned what would have been a mild headache into a 4-alarm hangover. We've all been there to one degree or another, but Bayer, by purchasing the genuinely despicable agrochemical giant Monsanto, transformed the practice into a vivid form of corporate self-immolation that is currently playing out in lawsuits and on front pages all over the country. Last year, Bayer completed the purchase of U.S. agrochemicals group Monsanto for $63 billion, reported the Financial Times at the beginning of August. Measured by the share price fall since the deal was first mooted 3 years ago, the deal ranks among the worst in corporate history. U.S. courts have linked Roundup, a widely used herbicide made by Monsanto, to cancer. With more than 18,000 legal cases pending, 3 have already been heard. Bayer faces possibly paying billions in compensation. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, thoughts of maybe becoming a lawyer someday led me into paralegal work at a number of law firms on both coasts. As a litigation paralegal, I worked on cases involving major automakers, pharmaceutical giants, international banks, large pipeline manufacturers, and other sundry corporate monstrosities. The work, by and large, was a grueling paper chase involving long archaeological digs through massive post-subpoena document dumps, and you rarely came across the document that would turn the whole case on its ear, but it happened every so often, and when it did, the cheers from the cubicles would rattle the fluorescent lights, plowing through all the boxes, dust bunnies, ink stains, paper cuts, and miles of memos had finally paid off. I didn't wind up going to law school, but I do know what the people suing Bayer Monsanto over Roundup and cancer are dealing with in these litigations. And boy, oh boy, did they ever strike gold. If gold were redefined as being corporate communications so crassly revealing that Enron looks tame by comparison. The story of this document dump begins in June of 2013 when a grassroots advocacy group called Moms Across America published an open letter to then Monsanto CEO Hugh Grant about the dangers involved in his company's wide distribution of genetically modified foods and use of their pesticide Roundup. We ask you to have the courage to acknowledge that GM practices in Roundup are hurting our world, read the letter. We have seen the recent and new scientific studies on the impact of GMOs and glyphosate, with links to autism, Alzheimer's, food allergies, liver cancer, IBS, breast cancer in humans, and possibly mental illness, and we have witnessed the results firsthand in our kids. As the resulting emails show, these accusations did not sit well with the folks at Monsanto. One conversation between Monsanto scientist Dr. Daniel Goldstein and two outside consultants, Bruce Chassey, a former professor at the University of Illinois, and Wayne Parrott, Mr. Parrott, a crop scientist at the University of Georgia, stand out in stark relief. Dr. Goldstein stated that Moms Across America was making a pretty nasty-looking set of allegations, and he had been arguing for a week that the company should beat the shit out of them in return. Classy guys. Chassey's classy too. Chassey was all for attacking the group, but Parrott was less sanguine. You can't beat up mothers, he wrote. Even if they are dumb mothers, you can beat up the organic industry. That conversation verged into a discussion of the Environmental Protection Agency, which was at the time holding a public comment period regarding supermarket produce and glyphosate, the ingredient in Roundup that has been directly connected to incidents of cancer. By the way, wrote Dr. Goldstein, a minor tolerance increase petition for glyphosate on specialty crops got 10,821 negative public comments in the last 48 hours. Not form letters, individually written comments. We're on our way to being corporate roadkill. The documents also reveal how the problems of Roundup, language, and truth repeatedly dogged Monsanto over the years. We cannot say glyphosate is safe, warned Monsanto toxicologist Donna Farmer in a May 2014 email. We can say history of safe use safely, etc. After the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic to humans, in a 2015 report, Monsanto went into battle mode to knock down the IARC's conclusions. The company hired an outside consulting firm to prepare a competing report to refute those findings, which was tentatively titled, "An Expert Panel Concludes There is No Evidence that Glyphosate is Carcinogenic to Humans." Tom, and so this is probably, if you remember, I talked briefly about Monsanto paying Google to show these competing reports in the top searches, right? And to bury the reports showing that glyphosate is probably carcinogenic to humans. So Google is also held, should be held to some account in all of this, but they won't be. Tom Sorahan, a Monsanto consultant and epidemiologist at the University of Birmingham, took issue with that working title. We can't say no evidence, quote unquote, because that means there's not a single scrap of evidence. He wrote in a November 2015 email, and I don't see how we can go that far. Trial juries in 3 California lawsuits against Bayer Monsanto have found in favor of the plaintiffs, reports the nonprofit Environmental Working Group, all of which have been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma. There are now roughly 13,000 other cases against Bayer Monsanto awaiting trial in the U.S. alone. There's a jarring bit of historical symmetry to all this. Bayer, in the middle of the last century, was part of the IG Farben Corporation, the company that served as the economic engine for Nazi Germany. Among IG Farben's many contributions to the Nazi war effort was Zyklon B, the gas used to murder people imprisoned in concentration camps. After the war, IG Farben was not destroyed outright, though many of its corporate officers were convicted of monstrous crimes at Nuremberg. The corporation itself, it seemed, was deemed too big to fail before anyone in the century ever thought to coin the term. Instead of eliminating it, IG Farben was broken up into smaller companies, one of which was Bayer. IG Farben executive Fritz Termeer, convicted of mass murder and slavery after the war, became a top executive at Bayer in 1956. Unbelievable. So, yeah, if you have money or power or are in the right position, you will never be held accountable for your crimes. If we really want to hold people accountable for this stuff, I mean, you know, we are seeing lawsuits being ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. That is starting to happen, but you know, that's a monetarily punitive, not necessarily, you know, are we going to see anybody go to jail? Are we going to see this company broken up? Are we going to see Roundup being outright, you know, banned from sale? I don't know. Probably not, unless there's some kind of massive citizens protest around this. Doubtful. You'll see a couple of judgments against Bayer, and then probably a lot of this stuff will go away. Matters will not improve in the near term for Bayer. Monsanto, major food companies like General Mills continue to sell popular children's breakfast cereals and other foods contaminated with troubling levels of glyphosate, the cancer-causing ingredient in the herbicide Roundup, reports EWG. The weed killer produced by Bayer Monsanto was detected in all 21 oat-based cereal and snack products sampled in a new round of testing commissioned by the Environmental Working Group. Lead in the tap water, glyphosate in the Cheerios. You get the definite sense that our national priorities are badly out of joint. But we must have a huge military budget. We must have it. Because, you know, terrorism. Anyways, that's pretty much the end of that article. I'm going to link it below. There was actually something going around. There was a study about glyphosate being found in a lot of major food items, and it's like all major food items. Even there was, you know, there's glyphosate in organic products labeled organic. It is now so pervasive, all pervasive, that is very, very difficult to get away from anything contaminated with glyphosate. And the same goes with GMO crops. There are quite a few, you know, quote unquote organic crops that have GMO, that have been infiltrated by GMO crops. It's really hard to keep this stuff from spreading everywhere. Unless you ban it outright, and you do not allow it. Some countries have done just that, banned GMOs outright, banned glyphosate outright. Some European countries, Russia, I think even has banned GMOs. We probably won't see anything near to that unless we have somebody extremely progressive, Bernie Sanders as president. Then we might actually see something like that go down, but you know, probably not in the near future. That's all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below.